From the Charles River Basin between Cambridge and Boston, this is the Ivy League Digital Network, and we bring to you our second race broadcast of the day with Harvard men's rowing. We have the lightweight matchup, and it is Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Boy, just saying those three schools here matching up in rowing doesn't get a whole lot bigger than that in the dual season.
Yeah, you know, you can't spell hype without HYP.
And we have this race starting, one of three lightweight races that we'll bring to you alongside former Harvard rower Austin Meyer. I'm Alex Vispoli. And what are your expectations for this race? You've got number 1 Yale, number 3 Harvard, number 4 Princeton. All teams, of course, it's very competitive. Harvard trying to recapture the cup here after they haven't won it in a few years. Yale won it last year, Princeton the few years prior to that. What are your expectations for how this will shape out?
You know, my expectations is this is going to be a great race. You know, it's great to see that HYP's is still as competitive as ever. It was always one of you know, the most competitive races when I was an undergrad. You know, this race is often decided. Definitely not in the first 500. I think you might see some lead changes. You might see every boat lead at one point during the race. So I've been really looking forward to this all week. I definitely expect to see, you know, Harvard and Yale maybe duking it out for 1-2, being ranked 1 and 3, but you know, Princeton's right there, behind them. So. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Introduce you to the Varsity 8, first for Harvard, which is the boat that will be closest to your screen. The coxswain is James Drebin, senior from Washington, D.C. Andre Dupuis is at the stroke, the junior from Sarasota, Florida. Hunter Wallace is in seat 7, a freshman from St. Louis. Nick Barry is in seat 6, a freshman from Port Washington, New York. In seat 5, it's Jack Kelly, a senior from Australia. Dan Bridgewater's in seat 4, a junior from New Zealand. Jordan Rogers is in seat 3, a junior from Ocean City, New Jersey. James Plout in seat 2, a freshman from London. And David Wexner is at the bow, a sophomore from New Albany, Ohio. Yale is the middle boat. Then we will introduce you to their starting lineup. At the coxswain, it's Ashley Wu. At the stroke, it's William Van Fossen, whose sister is a former Harvard rower. He's a senior from Morristown, New Jersey. Seat 7, Brendan Kelleher, senior from Merrick, New York. William Harrington in seat 6. Aaron Jones in seat 5. Alexander George in 4. Hubert Simpson in 3. Kevin Costi in seat 2. James Ash is at the bow. For Princeton, at the bow, it's Jordy Cabana, senior from Brookline, Mass. Seat 2, James Gobble, from junior from Winchester, England. Blake Lange is in seat 3. Austin Teese is in seat 4. Seat 5 is Jimmy Sienkiewicz. Seat 6, Ricky Swanton. Seat 7, Patrick Watt. At the stroke, it's Danny Hogan, and the coxswain is Ryan Bourne.
And we've got a level start. This is shaping up to be a great race. It looks like Yale might have maybe a seed advantage over Harvard at this stage. We're about 15 strokes to the first 500. Crews are just starting to settle down now. It looks like, you know, all three crews are matching pretty evenly. So let's see how this third 250 goes. Is usually a pretty decisive moment in that race. Really, that minute in to 2 minutes.
Yale looks like it's got maybe a slight edge, but very, very close with Harvard here at the bottom of your screen. Princeton right now is about 4 or 5 seats off the pace that's currently being set by both Harvard and Yale as we pass the first 500 and head toward the Harvard Bridge.
Yeah, I think it was about maybe a 126. Always kind of hard to tell with when exactly they cross, but that's a pretty good first 500 for these conditions. There's a bit of more of a headwind than there was earlier in the day, so this might be a little bit longer of a race than the 2V. It looks like Yale has been able to net a couple of more seats with Harvard half a length up on Princeton.
Yeah, Princeton right now in third, and Yale is setting the pace here, but Harvard's sticking very close. As we get close to the halfway portion of this race, Yale has swept every race that it's been in this year, except for the first one this spring. They had a race against Navy when the 4V was second, but all of their boats have come in first in all of the races that they've had this spring. So it's been an absolutely dominant start for Yale, 4-0. Princeton is 6-2 this spring. They were third at the head of the Charles last October, finishing second among U.S. colleges.
So we got a great race here. Usually you see at HYPs 2 boats kind of creep away with the race, but here you have all 3 boats overlapped. It looks like Harvard's making a play for eating back into that Yale margin, which they certainly needed to do in the second 500. You don't want to let them get away. And it looks like Harvard is moving here, and Princeton is, you know, right in there too. That looks like Harvard and Princeton have moved up on Yale. We have about half the race to go, so it's anybody's race at this point. But it looks like Harvard's maybe a seat down now.
Yeah, Harvard has come back from a seat or 2.
So a great second 500 from Harvard. It looks like they're, you know, we'll see if that was just a move in the second, or if this is going to carry them through to the finish. And it actually looks like that Harvard is going to take the lead now. So great, middle of the race speed for Harvard, and it looks like their efficiency is just allowing them to carry through here. Now they're taking seats every stroke.
And Princeton has fallen back, but still about 6 seats off the pace of Yale, which is right now trailing Harvard by 3 seats.
Yeah, and Andre Dupuy's really taking this crew up through the rates here. They're just stepping on the gas every few strokes. You can see the energy that they're pouring into it. It's netting them about a half a length, I'd say. And Princeton still overlapped with Yale, so I wouldn't count them out quite yet. But Harvard seems to be moving well at this stage, so we'll see if Yale can respond coming into the last 500.
First varsity race, Harvard has had the lead. Yale led throughout most of the first half, but Harvard has really hung tight when it looked like Yale was going to pull away there in the middle, but the Crimson have been very strong. Meanwhile, Princeton at the top of your screen has maintained that same gap on Yale, but Harvard putting some space between itself and the Bulldogs.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Yale has checked Harvard's move in the middle of the course, and they're starting to eat back. It's about a third of a length in it right now. Had about 425 to the 1,500 meter mark.
It's a race that Harvard has not won since 2012. Princeton won it 3 straight years, 13 through 15, and Yale took it last year.
Well, I got to correct you on that. We won it in 2013, so I got to say that was the last time they won, and we were kind of in a similar position to Yale at this stage, you know. So I'm sure they're thinking of that race. Harvard's doing a really nice job, you know, just pushing them off, holding them off. It's about a third of a length with 250 to go, maybe less than 250. But this would be an upset of the day, you know. Number 1 ranked Yale. If Harvard can hold on to this is a huge win for Harvard.
First varsity has not lost a race this spring. Harvard comes into this 7-1.
Oh, and Harvard's taking the move here. Harvard's moving away in these last 10 strokes. Well, actually, only a couple to go. And look at the flag. Flag's down, up,
and
down.
Harvard does take it, followed by Yale and Princeton. First time that Yale has lost a first varsity race this year, and Harvard looking very, very strong over that course.
You know, they really kept their cool, and it's great to see those kinds of competitive, exciting races where, you know, there's lead changes, and that was a really exciting race. Really excited for the Harvard 1V here. I know they were hungry for this race.
So the key was that middle part where Yale had that slight edge, but Harvard just continued to stay with them, it seemed.
Yeah, Harvard kept its cool. They'll have to, you know, they're going to have to remember that start of Yale's leading into Eastern sprints in a couple of weeks. You know, the margins are close enough where that could easily be overturned at sprints. So all these crews, and you know, Princeton was right in it too. So I certainly wouldn't be counting them out for a crew to watch at Eastern sprints.
So the final results in the first varsity men's lightweight: Harvard comes in first, Yale in second, and Princeton in third. We've got more action coming up in just about 20 minutes or so. We'll have the men's heavyweight rowing, Harvard and Northeastern, and then we'll have 4V men's lightweight and 5V men's lightweight coming up later on our broadcast. But the Crimson take this big race between Harvard, Yale, and the Princeton Tigers.